Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Or if you're new around here, welcome. I'm glad to have you. I hope you enjoy this video. We're going to be doing a candle review today, talking about Kringle Candle's Chocolate Eggs fragrance. This is part of their Easter collection, which at the time of my filming today, these will be launching tomorrow, which is Thursday, March 20th at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. And if you are just catching up with me here, I am a Kringle Candle ambassador, and these candles in this Easter collection were sent to me as a gift from Kringle to review here on this channel for you guys. So if you go back to my channel page, you'll see various other Easter candles in review here. So feel free to take a look and see if anything catches your eye. And if you do plan on shopping this collection tomorrow, my affiliate code Simply Scented, which will be in the description of this video, that at checkout will get you 15% off of your purchase. And I just want you to be aware that is a commissioned code. So what that means is I do get a small percentage of any sale made using my code. So I always take this opportunity in my videos to say thank you to anybody who plans to use it or has ever used it in the past. I really appreciate you guys, especially, being sort of a smaller scale reviewer around here. It really does make a difference and helps me be able to have more content here and more reviews in the future. So thank you guys for that. I really appreciate that support. So I'm sorry if you're tired of hearing me say that spiel. It's just part of the disclosure. I have to do it. So, getting back to today's review, we're doing another Easter fragrance here, similar to Carrot Cake, which I reviewed yesterday. Chocolate Eggs was also in the Easter lineup last year, but in a different format. We had this also in the Country Candle apothecary jars last year, just like Carrot Cake. And this year they took Carrot Cake and Chocolate Eggs and moved them over to this Kringle style jar you see here. This one has a nice pink glass with like that same sort of speckled egg kind of texturing on the side there. And this label, I will say, is probably my least favorite. The colors are just really kind of not the best for me, or at least the way it's kind of presented on this label. And I did mention in my Carrot Cake video, I had a little bit of kind of crinkling on that label, and I have a little bit going here and on this one as well, where the label's just not on there quite flat enough. And that might be something that you could easily remedy by pulling it off and sticking it back on. I just didn't want to mess with it too much in case I ran into any issues. I wanted to have this in pretty good form here to film this review. So also, if you caught my review yesterday on Carrot Cake, this is going to be kind of similar in the sense that we're going to talk a little bit about last year's version in relation to this year's version, and then we will just get into our regular candle review here with the fragrance itself. So I did reach out to my ambassador contact over at Kringle, and I did question if Carrot Cake and Chocolate Eggs were expected to be the same as last year, or if there was any sort of reformulation. And I was told that, to the best of his knowledge, that these fragrances were the same. So I won't get too much into it. In yesterday's video with Carrot Cake, we talked about how, the notes were listed the same for that candle, but some are reporting a little bit of a difference that they're smelling in the actual fragrance. Here with Chocolate Eggs, it's a little bit different. The notes last year are different than what we have this year. Last year's notes, I feel like, implied more of a sort of rich brownie sort of type of fragrance, chocolate fragrance. This year's, now unfortunately, I don't have last year's version in my possession to compare it to, side by side for you guys. The same thing with Carrot Cake. Unfortunately, those were the two that I passed on last year. So I don't have, last year's version in front of me to do a direct comparison and vouch for them one way or the other if they smell the same or if there's any difference. I can only go based on the notes. But one observation here, I feel like, and I pointed this out in my first impressions video earlier in this sort of Easter series, that the notes this year, I feel like, line up a lot better with what I'm actually smelling in this fragrance. So again, I don't know if they changed it at all. I actually haven't heard too many rumblings from the others, if they're getting much of a difference from last year to this year or not. So I really don't know one way or the other. But all I can do is review what I have and go on what I'm given here today, which I mean really is all that matters, you guys, anyway, because this year's version is what you're going to be buying. So if this is new to you, like it is new to me, it doesn't really matter what last year's essentially smells like because it's not available anymore. So the one thing I can say is the notes that were given this year, which I will read to you very shortly, do seem to line up more with what I'm actually smelling in this fragrance. So what are those notes? We've got top notes of milk chocolate and sweet, mid notes of sugar crystals, vanilla, base notes of buttercream and cocoa. All right, so before we get too deep into our notes here, I kind of want to just throw this out there for you guys, food for thought. Chocolate scents in general, I feel like there's a lot of hesitation around them. People are a little bit more cautious. It's kind of a tough note to get right for some people. And, I put myself in that category as well. That's kind of what held me back from purchasing it last year was I get nervous with chocolate because if it's done right, it can be wonderful. But if it doesn't agree with you, it can be really off-putting. And, this year Kringle kind of took that decision out of my hands by sending me this. It was kind of like, all right, well, I guess I'm trying it this time. But I definitely have had that sort of hesitation. So I just want you to kind of keep in mind your own preferences because I feel like there's a lot of subjectivity when it comes to chocolate notes and the way our noses, different noses interpret different notes and scents. So there is something about this scent, I'll say I'm doing okay with this one. I'm not having a problem with it myself, but there are some slight nuances here that I feel like might trip up some people. So, we'll talk a little bit about that. But overall, in the grand picture of things, this is my own subjective thoughts, but I feel like it is pretty authentic to what I would expect a chocolate egg fragrance to smell like. So what I mean by that is I've definitely got, this is definitely a milk chocolate scent to my nose. This is not having that bitter lean of a dark chocolate. It's not overly rich like a fudgy sort of scent. For me, this is sort of a sweet, airy, milky chocolate and, pretty authentic to a chocolate egg. Now, the thing with that, this is your sort of childhood nostalgic chocolate egg we're talking about here. So if you prefer more of a high-end chocolate, the kind of chocolate that as moms we hide in the back of the freezer so little hands can't reach them, this is not like that high-end chocolate to my nose. This is really more in keeping with that childhood sort of chocolate egg, that perhaps cheaper quality chocolate egg. And that's not to say the fragrance itself smells cheap, but this is more in line with that sort of childhood chocolate to me. So points for nostalgia. If you're looking for that, this might be a really good one for you. But if you're looking for a different sort of experience, I would say check some of the Reserve chocolate candles where I think there's a little bit more of a sophistication there, so to speak. But for what this is, I think it's really good. Milk chocolate, I said, talking that sort of solid chocolate, it's giving that sort of, when you open that fresh bag of chocolate eggs, it's giving that sort of vibe off where you've got your chocolate, you've got that sort of vague sweetness. There's a lot of sweetness to this candle. Again, some of you might find it a little too much and a little cloying. Personally, I'm doing okay with it, especially getting into the burn, reaching the halfway point here. It is kind of deepening a little bit, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a moment here. But just kind of at the initial impression, the initial few burns of this candle, very much in keeping with that sort of light, airy, solid milk chocolate kind of tone. And, I talked about this a little bit in my first impressions, but, if you think about a sort of brownie mix and you've got the dry mix and you've still got those sugar crystals, because we have a sugar crystal component here as well. before the, mix is mixed with those wet ingredients and it takes on that sort of more fudgy tone where you've got that sort of dry base. I get a little bit of that here with this candle where you've got your cocoa powder, you've got your sugar crystals, it's not overly rich. The vanilla in this, it's not coming through as like a heavy vanilla. It almost just sort of kind of cuts that chocolate down a little bit to keep it from going too rich, so to speak. It's kind of just like a ribbon kind of swirled in there, just cutting it slightly, and probably contributing a little bit to that milky sort of quality. Milk and vanilla, they can kind of have that slightly almost dairy sort of lactonic sort of tone to it at times. That's what I get here a little bit. The thing that I've observed a little bit in my burning here is as I've gotten deeper into the jar, and I'm probably about the midway, I really wanted to get a little bit more burn time on this one. And honestly, guys, I just ran out of time. I ended up devoting a little bit more time to carrot cake because I was having some concerns there with that burn. And it kind of took away from the time that I had for chocolate eggs. So I was hoping to get a little bit further into this jar, but I have spent, several hours with this one. This is several burns in, and I have noticed, and I get this with other chocolate fragrances too, that as you burn down, sometimes the scent sort of richens a bit. And we have a base here of buttercream, which I feel like, longer into this burn, more of that buttercream has started to kind of present itself a little bit. And it has added a little bit more of a balance to that sort of sweet milkiness. So if you think about your brownie mix again, now maybe you're starting to kind of incorporate those wet ingredients and getting a little bit more of a rich fragrance. Or if you just put that pan right into the oven before it hits that sort of cakey, fudgy quality, that early brownie baking, brownie batter sort of smell coming from the oven, that's kind of what I'm getting here is we're just kind of taking that and adding a little bit more depth, a little bit more like gravitas to this fragrance, which I feel like it needed because, like I said earlier, without that, I feel like I can see a lot of people finding it to be a little bit too sweet, a little bit bordering on that artificial, end of the spectrum. But for me, it's kind of growing on me a little bit more as it burns. So again, that's just my feelings. Know what your preferences are. As for performance, I would say this has probably been the strongest of the three Kringle jars that I've burned in this collection, that being between Carrot Cake and Easter Petals. This one has been, I would say, in a solid sort of medium intensity. At times, I feel like after, you've got a nice sort of full pool going, it's had a couple hours under its belt, I feel like it just kind of toes the line to maybe bumping up to something of an 8, depending on your space. I'm burning in an open concept area, generally in my kitchen, and if it's in my kitchen, I can smell it pretty distinctly. It's pretty strong in there. And then, as it moves through the house, it's got a pretty good throw about it, ability to kind of spread itself around my home. It's a little bit lighter further away. It's a little less intensely chocolate as you get a little bit further away. But it is making itself known. It is having a good presence. I feel like this is kind of just right. It's not super, it's not a super powerhouse, but it's very present. And I feel like if it was more of a powerhouse, it actually might be a little bit more off-putting to me. I actually kind of like where it is. I don't want it stronger. I have not burned it in a hurricane at all. If you're looking for more of a punch, I feel like if you were to put this in a hurricane, you would probably get a little bit more power from it. But again, I haven't tried it. I like it right where it is, but know your own preferences there as well. I will say it has had a little bit dirtier of a burn than the others as well. Getting a little bit of soot accumulation up at the top of the glass. I tried to capture that in my little opening scene there. If you missed it, if you want to go back after this video and kind of just watch those first few seconds, you'll probably see it. There is a little bit of soot accumulation at the top of the glass. I don't feel like it's burning super hot. I am a wick trimmer. I generally will trim, before every burn unless there's something kind of going on with the burn. But I would say this is one of those ones where you got to keep an eye on it. Don't let it go, too long without giving it a trim. Make sure you're cleaning up those carbon balls. And if you start to notice it is sooting a little bit for you, don't be afraid to give it a trim mid-burn. Don't be afraid to keep those burns short if, you're worried about that accumulation, because I do feel like this is, for me, having a tendency to burn a little bit on the sootier side. Not extreme, not anything wildly different than what I've had from other candles, but definitely something to keep an eye on, especially if that cleanliness is important to you. So, that's about all I can say about the fragrance itself. As for comparisons, I mean, for me, the closest mainstream, I would say, because this is in that sort of milky chocolate realm, is Bath & Body Works Hot Cocoa and Cream. If you like that one, this does have a, similar sort of feel to it. But, I don't burn a whole ton of chocolate. I'll be honest. There are a few in the Reserve line. I'll say if you're looking for something a little bit more dark chocolate, I hear the new Bittersweet has a little bit more of that dark chocolate lean. If you're looking for something more cakey, I have been burning a little bit of their Reserve Red Velvet from Kringle. That one definitely has more of a cakey tone. It's definitely very different from Chocolate Eggs. It's not a full-blown chocolate scent. It does have a little bit different quality to it being Red Velvet, but it's in that sort of chocolate family. And if you want something that's more cakey, that one is very much a sort of cakey fragrance to me. As far as something a little bit more rich and decadent, Triple Chocolate, I've heard really good things about. I've been meaning to try it for a long time. That's another one in the Reserve line from Kringle that, maybe if you're looking for a little bit more of a rich chocolate experience, that one might be a good fit. There's so many out there. I think the first chocolate scent I ever tried was Yankees Chocolate Layer Cake, and that was probably one of the strongest candles I've ever burned. A little bit too strong for my liking, but that one, is a little bit different than this as well. A little bit more of a cakiness to that and a little bit more potency, I feel, but this is nice for what it is. And if you're looking for something fairly authentic, a little nostalgic to childhood, give this one a shot. If you do try it, let me know what you think. Did you have it last year? What was your impression? And, leave that in the comments or let me know. And, hopefully I will be able to post a little something about Sweet as Can Be. That's pretty much the only one I have left from the Easter lineup. I won't spend a whole lot of time on that. That might just be a post or a short video because it is pretty much the same as Lemon Sugar Marshmallow. I'm really not getting any huge, wildly different nuances from that fragrance. And I will also try to post my review of that one from last year up on my wall here for you guys over on YouTube who maybe weren't following me back then. Same thing for Easter Brunch, which I also reviewed last year. So that's what I have coming up. If you enjoyed this video and I didn't confuse you too much, I hope I didn't confuse you guys, give this video a thumbs up. I really appreciate the support. Make sure you're subscribed if you want to be alerted for my upcoming, content. And hopefully I'll be able to kind of switch gears a little bit from Kringle here soon. I keep saying I'm going to do that. I do have other ideas and other things I want to kind of get into with you guys here on this channel. So I thank you guys for your support. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day and take care of yourselves.